Hi there, and welcome to another Challenge Me a Christmas Card video. My name is Michelle Lupton. Now, the challenge for today was to make a card with the theme candle. I don't have any candle stamps, but I do have a candle. So I decided to cheat a little bit and not make a card, but to make a Christmas decorated candle. So, I'm using a technique that was taught to me quite a few years ago by my Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, Sue Maddox. And what you need is a candle, preferably white or pale in colour, and a bit of white tissue paper. Now, this old scungy bit of white tissue paper is the only white tissue paper I could find. So this is it. But it doesn't really matter that it's a little bit folded and a little bit scungy, because the end result won't matter at all. Now I'm just sort of straightening the bottom edge of it, and I'm going to be stamping some images onto it in various different Christmassy colours. So I'm going to be using this stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. It's called Winter Flowers. And I'm just using the holly berries and the holly leaves from this set. And what I'm going to be doing is inking them up with a couple of different colours. I've chosen two red colours, that's Pale Tomato and Red Royal, and two green colours, which is Fresh Lawn and Antigua. And honestly, the colours didn't really come out that different to each other on the tissue paper, but hey, doesn't really matter. So what I was doing is just inking up with the palest green colour first, then just dunking the edge of the stamp into the darker green colour, just to give a little bit of variation in the stamping. And I'm spreading these out so that there's enough space for me to fit the holly berries in between them. So you might have seen me just sort of hold the holly berry stamps above, just to see that I'm spacing them with enough space. So after I've stamped all of these leaves, I'm going to start on with the berries. And same deal, I'm dunking into the paler red colour, then dunking into the darker red colour just to give a bit of variation, and fitting them in between. Now, I'm not actually going to cover the whole piece of tissue paper. The top bit I'm going to cut off. You could actually cover the whole piece of tissue paper with stamping if you really wanted to, but I don't want to. But of course, you need to make sure that your tissue paper fits the candle that you're going to use. Now, I realised I needed a little bit on the edges so that where the paper actually overlaps, it will sort of line up at least a little bit. And I did the same with the berries as well. Now I'm just taking my scissors and cutting around the edge. Now I've left a little bit of a border around the stamped images, so I'm not cutting right on the stamped images, but you can see I'm not really taking much care. It's not really important that this is perfectly neat and tidy, because for the end result it really won't matter that much. Okay, so once I have my piece, and as you can see it's all folded, doesn't matter. It's going to be straightened out eventually. And now what I've got is a piece of Glad Bake, which is a sort of slippery kitchen paper that you use in sort of, I use it to put cookies on, or sometimes in the bottom of a frying pan when I'm cooking. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the piece of paper around the bottom of the candle and then wrap the Glad Bake around it. But I just thought I'd see which kind of ribbon I wanted first. I originally wanted this gold ribbon, but when I put it up against it, I just didn't like it. So I pulled out this ribbon, which is red and glittery, and I thought I like that so much better than the gold. So the gold went back into my ribbon stash, and I'm using this red one. Now the red one, it's not really ribbon. It's, well, I suppose it is ribbon, but it is an iron-on thing that you can use to iron on to fabric if you want to. I've never actually used it on fabric, and I actually tried once to heat it to something, and it just didn't work. So I'm just going to be gluing this. I'm not actually going to be heating it up to sort of heat it and set it to the candle. So now I'm wrapping the Glad Bake around the candle nice and tight. So the tissue paper is very tight against the candle. The Glad Bake is very tight against that. I'm holding it tight with my hand, and I'm bringing my heat tool to it. Now I'm using my Stampin' Up! Heat tool, which has 2 heat settings, and I've just got on the lower of the 2 heat settings. Doesn't need to be really, really hot. I want to melt just the very outer layer of wax on the candle. I don't want to melt the whole candle, so need to be a little bit careful here. Now I would prefer to have a larger piece of Glad Bake, but I obviously don't plan ahead very well. But it didn't really matter, as long as you can get all of the pieces of paper on the candle covered with the Glad Bake at one time. You can go backwards and forwards like I'm doing right now. As long as it's nice and flat and you can get heat onto the edges of the paper. You don't have to heat the whole thing. As long as you heat all along the top edge of the paper and along the bottom edge of the paper, that's going to get the edges to basically be melted into the candle and not be loose. Alright, so now I'm just doing the finishing touch, which is to add the ribbon to the bottom, the red glittery ribbon. I'm using my super duper red adhesive here. Now, I'm hoping that you have been watching my Challenge Me Christmas card series on my blog. Not every card that I've done has a video attached to it, but a few of them do, and this one obviously is not a card. My guest today is Jean Jachner, whose style I really admire, but we have actually a special surprise on my blog, and I've got a link to her blog as well, so make sure you go and visit my blog and also visit Jean to see what she's come up with today, because yeah, there's a special surprise in store for you. Alright, so now I'm just making sure that the ribbon is lined up nice and neatly with the bottom. I'm just going to cut off the very edge so it is sitting flush at the bottom of the candle. And that's pretty much it. My candle is finished. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you try this technique for yourself. And I hope you come and visit me again for my Challenge Me a Christmas card series. So thanks for watching. Bye.